Good news! Children under 5 who live in Prince George's County are eligible to receive a book in the mail every month, courtesy of the Prince George's County Memorial Library System and the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Sign your child up today at the web address below.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Nick Brown with the Prince George's County Memorial Library System, coming to you from virtual land, but actually from Prince George's County, Maryland. We are so grateful to all of you for joining us today. We hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. We have a very, very special guest today for this very special event, and her name is Tricia. And could you pronounce your middle name for us so that I don't screw it up?
Yes, sure. It's Elam.
Elam Walker, thank you so much. And Tricia is a fabulous author, educator, and attorney. And in addition to writing a novel for adults, she has a new book for children. And she's going to be gracing us with a reading today, which is really awesome. Before we start off with the reading, we'd just like to ask Tricia a few questions for the young ones who are tuning in. And then we'll go into our reading and have a little more Q&A on the back end of the program. So welcome, Tricia. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a bit about your work and what excites you about being an author?
Everything about being an author excites me. I have loved books since being a small child. My mom was a librarian, so books were very important in our household, especially children's books. She thought children's books could solve the problems of the world. And she read them like they were adult literature, and she even gave them as gifts to adults. So I've continued that tradition for her. And so I started writing books as a very little child, trying to sew them together so they'd open up like real books. But somehow I couldn't see the path to actually becoming a writer and earning a living at that. So I became a lawyer. But in the midst of that, I was always kind of writing on the side. And finally, after about 16 years of practice, I thought, how do I get to do what I really, really love to do? So thus, I went back to school, got an MFA in creative writing, and started writing books. And here I am.
Yay. Cool. That's awesome.
I recovered.
Yeah. What are some of the stories and the characters that you loved reading in children's books when you had your kids, or even back when you were a kid?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, Nick, because when I was growing up, there weren't many books. I don't even remember any that had people or children that looked like me in them as characters. So my mom worked very hard trying to find those. And so that came later in life, but definitely with my children. I remember Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. That was a big favorite. I remember Harold and the Purple Crayon. I remember Amelia Bedelia, Eloise, a book called Sam. There's lots.
Very cool. I love some of those as well. Amelia Bedelia is one of my favorites. That kept me going for a while there. Well, for everyone who's tuning in, I just want to let you all know that Tricia's book is available through the library system for you to borrow as an ebook or also as a print copy. There's the cover. It is beautiful. And our friends, there you go. Our friends at Loyalty Bookstores, which is a Black and women-owned independent bookstore based in Silver Spring and DC, is making the book available for purchase for anyone who would like to purchase a copy. And I'll share a link with you in the chat here. We would love to hear where all of you are tuning in from in the chat, and also who is tuning in. So if there are little ones watching, we'd love to know your names, your age, and for the adults in the room, if you're there, we'd love to hear your name and age too, and where you all live. We really appreciate everyone tuning in today. One more question before we go into the reading. What was the process like with deciding that this was the story that you wanted to tell?
You know, it was a lengthy process because I had the contract before I had the book. I got the contract for a different book, which is coming out in 2021. So stay tuned for that. But that was with an artist who I'm related to. So we kind of got that contract together. And because she's an award-winning artist, she has all these other projects, it had to be kind of put on the back burner. So they gave me a separate contract for a separate book. And I had all these ideas and I'd send them to my agent and she'd say, she didn't mince her words. She'd say, nope, that's boring, or nope, that's been done before, or nope, that's depressing. So I was depressed, and I was like, oh my gosh, because I had a deadline too. So very long story short, I'm a Buddhist, and I was really, really chanting about this situation. How do I solve this? What am I going to write about? And I happened to be somewhere that had some African masks on the wall, almost like the one behind me. And as I feel like as I was chanting, the African mask sort of started talking to me. I know it sounds very hoo, but um, I started thinking about a little girl who maybe had some tribal markings on her face and was embarrassed about them. Later on, when I did research, I realized it would have been someone from an older generation. So I decided to make it the grandmother. And the story just kind of flowed from there. I knew I wanted to teach something to kids, and I wanted to be, you know, kind of a subtle lesson, but one that I think kids could identify with. So I started thinking about if she was embarrassed about her grandmother, even though she loves her very much. So that's the story. I'm not hearing you. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Sorry about that. If you're willing, we'd love to have you read the story to us.
All right, let's do it. And I'll do my best to hold these beautiful pictures up. I hope we talk about that. April Harrison is the illustrator, an award-winning illustrator, and she's amazing. So, okay. Nana Akua goes to school. Let me show you the pictures first. It's circle time, Zora's favorite time of the day. She scoots to a spot next to Theodore and crisscrosses her legs on the rainbow-shaped rug. Ready, set, Mr. Dawson says, looking at the children over his glasses. You bet, they respond, and quiet right down. Next Monday is a very important day, Mr. Dawson continues. Each of you will bring your grandparents to school so they can share what makes them special. Yay, Grandparents' Day, shouts Alejo without raising his hand. My abuelo is the best fisherman in the world, and he can explain how to catch the biggest fish. Bisu thrusts both hands up and says, my Mimi is the best dentist in the world, and she can bring everyone a toothbrush. All the children chime in, their voices leaping over each other to tell what's best about their grandparents. Inside voices, please, says Mr. Dawson. What do yours do? Theodore whispers to Zora. But Zora just shrugs. When Zora's papa brings her home from school, Nana Akua, her favorite person in the whole universe, is peeling potatoes for dinner. Although Nana's feet don't even reach the floor, she seems as tall as the giant playground slide. Maybe that's because she's filled to the brim with stories about growing up in West Africa, where people carve statues out of wood, trees dripped with mangoes, and crayon-colored outdoor markets sell everything you can imagine. Nana puts down the peeler and gives Zora one of her big hugs, the kind that wrap around you like a sweater. Grandparents' Day is next week, she says. Maybe you can help me decide what to talk about. Zora stares down at the floor. Zora's mommy knows about Grandparents' Day too. Her smile is bright as a sunbeam. How about if Papa plays the djembe drums while Nana talks to your classmates, she suggests, coming over to help Nana. Zora frowns and thinks about the last time she and Nana went to the park. Nana pushed her high to the sky on the swings, and Zora was almost flying. But on their way home, a little boy pointed at Nana, and Zora heard him say to his mother, "That lady looks scary." And the very next day, a server in the little tea house stared so hard at Nana, she forgot to bring them sugar cookies with their tea. This is because Nana Akua looks different. When she was young, her parents followed an old African tradition. They put marks on her face to show which tribal family she belongs to and to represent beauty and confidence. Those marks never wash off and never go away. Zora looks at her Nana, holding back tears that wait in the corners of her eyes. Nana Akua puts down her potato, takes Zora's hand, and says, "My precious girl, why such a sad face?" It feels hard to explain, but Zora wants to try. She swallows and takes a deep breath. "What if someone at school laughs at you or acts mean?" she asks quietly. Nana Akua thinks for a moment. "I have an idea," she says, and puts Zora's arm through hers. Together, they walk down the hall to Zora's room. Nana points to the bed. "How about we bring your favorite quilt to class? These quilt patterns come from another long ago tradition. Even though they're not exactly the same as the marks on my face, they can help explain them. What do you think?" Zora traces some of the designs she loves with her fingers. When Nana Akua first made the quilt for Zora, she explained that the patterns were Adinkra symbols of the Akan people of Ghana. The symbols represent more than 50 important qualities like wisdom and creativity. Zora wishes the marks were only on the quilt and not on Nana Akua's face. Still, she says, "Okay, we can bring it." On Grandparents' Day, Zora wears one of her African dresses sewn by Nana, and Nana Akua looks especially regal in her high, bright patterned kaba with matching skirt and head wrap. There are lots of oohs and ahs when they arrive. The classroom is decorated with a rainbow of balloons that float up to the ceiling. There are large welcome signs made with colored markers. A tall chair is on the rug for the grandparents to sit in when they speak. First is Alejo's abuelo, who passes around photos of the biggest bluefish he ever caught. Next, Bisu's Mimi shows the class a video called Mr. Cavity and the Magic Toothbrush. And then Lester's grandparents, who owned a barber shop for many years, hold up matching clippers. "Anybody need a haircut?" they ask, laughing. Finally, it's Nana Akua's turn. She sits in the special grandparent chair with Zora next to her. Zora clutches her quilt tightly and her voice shakes when she gives her introduction. "This is my Nana Akua, and she is from Ghana, a country in West Africa." Nana Akua squeezes Zora's shoulder and starts talking. "Hello, children. I'm sure you noticed the marks on my face. Has anyone seen anything like them before?" "No," say all the children. "These marks were gifts from my parents, who were happy and proud that I was born," she continues. "I am likewise proud to wear them. Most Ghanaian parents don't celebrate in this way anymore, but it was once an important tradition." Zora watches, her eyes wide as cups, as Nana Akua walks slowly around the circle so everyone can see her face up close. "It's interesting," she says, "that in this country, I often notice people who put tattoos on their body that have special meanings. Yours are way better than tattoos, Theodore says, because they grew up with you. Nana Akua smiles. Why, thank you, young man, she says. I brought some special makeup so that each of you can have beautiful African symbols on your faces too, the kind that wash off. My expert helper will hold up her quilt, which shows some symbols you can choose from. I love this picture of Nana Akua that April Harrison drew. You can see the marks there. The other children look at Zora expectantly. She unfolds the quilt with care. Today, I'm going to choose the Bessie Saka symbol. It looks like a flower, and my Nana told me it stands for power and unity. Nana Akua paints the symbol onto Zora's cheek in gold, while Zora holds very still. The other children clap when it's all done. Come and choose your favorite symbol, Zora says to them. Alejo, who wants to be a beatboxer, points to the Shebwe Muda symbol because he thinks it looks like a keyboard. Nana Akua tells him it means high quality and excellence. Oops, that's the wrong one. There it goes. Bisu wants to be a veterinarian and picks the Denshem symbol, which is shaped like a crocodile, one of her favorite animals. It stands for cleverness. Peter and Inez decide on the Adwo symbol, which looks like the inside of a sliced apple with two identical halves. Twins like us, Peter says. Nana says the symbol means peace and quiet. Like mommy and daddy say, we never give them, Inez shouts. Nana Akua paints and paints until every child has their own design. The other grandparents choose symbols for themselves too. If you look closely, if I can get this so you can see it, you'll see all the symbols on the children's and the grandparents' faces. Zora's face glows as she watches Nana Akua fold up her quilt to go home. And this time, it's Zora who gives her very special, not like anyone else's Nana, one of those big hugs, the kind that wrap around you like a sweater. And that is the end of the story.
Well, thank you so much, Tricia. That was awesome. I can't wait to share that story with my little nieces and nephews.
Yay.
I know we'll love it.
I just want to make sure, I didn't hold this up very well. I want to make sure kids especially can see all the different symbols. And I've heard from a lot of kids that they like recreating them and putting them on their skin, etc. So enjoy.
Very cool. The story is really powerful in that it really shows what some of the journeys are that folks deal with both recognizing that they might have some differences, but also learning how that's an opportunity to celebrate each other. Can you tell a bit about the kind of the lesson that you're putting forward with the story?
Yes, I really wanted a story that helped celebrate difference and didn't sort of, sometimes people say, I don't see difference, but I really wanted to show that the difference is actually quite special. And I wanted also the Zora to learn the lesson of the fact that she loves her grandmother so much, but didn't really want to share her because she was worried that people would be mean to her. And she had seen people be mean to her or be frightened by her. And she just didn't want to have that experience again. So she was concerned for herself as well as her grandmother. And I wanted to show that. But that she kind of learns as she sees how interested the other children are. And I think children are that way. If they haven't, if no one has told them any different, they're open. They want to learn. They want to know about what's different from them and try to make connections. As Theodore, we're celebrating the fact that the grandmother grew up with this and didn't have to put it on later, like people put on tattoos. So that was the hope, that we can all really learn to look at and celebrate things that are different and want to learn about them and appreciate them.
Cool. What do you hope parents take from this story that might help them learn new ways of teaching their kids to appreciate differences?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is such an important time in our country. And I think that, for a lot of children, they haven't necessarily had to feel like the different ones, the ones who did stand out. And so it's important for them to learn about this as well, and to not, be afraid of it and not be mean about it, but to really appreciate it, and to not, quote unquote, other people and other children, and just really want to embrace and learn and accept. And I think that we can't do enough of it.
How do the lessons that you put forward in this story get reflected when you teach older young people at Howard?
Oh boy. Well, at Howard, for one thing, Howard is a place where there are mostly Black students, but we do have some diversity. And so I think it's, one of the things that I love about Howard is it has become a safe place for some of the students, because they have been places where they have been othered, where they have been expected to talk about what it's like to be, different, what it's like to be Black. And they've been expected to speak for the whole race, which isn't really fair. So I think this is an opportunity for them to be able to relax and breathe and just be who they are. And I feel appreciative that I can help them do that and just take a break from being out in the world where they're not always accepted.
Do you have plans to write more children's books?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, my editor has already asked me what's next, and I've asked her to just give me a minute. But, I've been thinking about this time and about how children aren't able to be with their friends as much, to be with their classroom, in their classrooms, have recess. That's what I'm hearing from my little nieces and nephews, that they really miss these things. So I'm trying to think about how that can take shape in a children's book. So we'll see. So stay tuned.
Very cool. Do you have any reflections on the way that the publishing industry has moved forward towards greater inclusivity, but might still have a long way to go as well?
Yeah, I think that right now, the publishing industry is looking at this and wanting to do more. My hope is that this will continue, that it's not just for the moment or in this moment, that this will continue. And it needs to be reflected in, the editorial boards, the direction of the companies themselves, not just with the authors and illustrators. So, who's behind those buildings, who's in there making all these decisions, that needs to also be more diverse. But I'm very happy with the fact that the need is there and they understand that. They seem to right now. So it's a great opportunity for me and for the illustrators that I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with. And it's, the illustrator that I had for this book, I just want to plug her a little bit, because she was a fine artist and hadn't really done children's books before. She had done one before this one, which won all kinds of awards. And I actually had some of her artwork in my house. So when her name was given to me, I was like, oh, we are meant to be together. And she just really breathed life into the characters and, made my dream come true.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a bit more about that process of collaboration? What was the relationship like in terms of, would you give her your vision for a scene and then she would propose something, or would she kind of just lay it all out there and see what you thought?
I was really not involved at all. they told me who the artist was going to be, and then I never saw anything from her for a good while. And I kept asking, can I at least see, what she's doing? But she and I actually had a conversation, and she just asked me, was there anything that was really important to me? And I said, well, it's important that, Nana Akua really looked warm and inviting, looked like the grandparent that, she is. And I wanted Zora to have natural hair. So those were the two things that I said were important. Other than that, April was pretty much on her own. She did tell me that she was inspired by a video she saw of Trevor Noah's grandmother. Oh. And that is, who inspired her to create Nana Akua. And I love that. So if anybody knows Trevor Noah, please tell him that,
Well, we should tell him to have you on the show for one.
We absolutely have us both on there. So that is about all the collaboration that happened with that. I think that they really actually try to keep the writer and the illustrator apart for whatever reason. So yeah. Now the other book that I'm doing with my cousin, we work together on that one, but with that usually doesn't happen at all. And it's a very different project for me because she already had some collages, and I had to write a story, to her collages, which was different. I didn't get to be the boss of the story. I had to kind of look and see, okay, what can I do with this? So it's a book called Dream Street, and I'm excited about that.
Cool. When is that coming out?
Fall 2021 is what I've heard thus far.
Well, we hope you'll come join us in person and that it will be safe to be in person.
I know, that would be lovely.
Yeah. Just before we go, I'd love for you to share the story about the painting that is so lovely and striking to the audience.
Sure. So this painting came about. I happened to be in a cafe in Boston. This is several years ago. And I met a young man who, he was very artistic in his dress. So we talked about that, and he liked my glasses, and we just kind of complimented each other and ended up talking about art and fashion. I said, I'm a writer. He said he was a painter. And we exchanged email info, and I went to his website just to see some of the work that he did. And I loved it because he was very influenced by Jean-Michel Basquiat, if you guys know of that artist. And I could see, the influence. In any case, maybe about 2 weeks after our meeting, he sent me an email with a picture of this behind me in progress, a work in progress. And I could see the outlines of my glasses and my hair. And I thought, wow, I want this. And so we started discussing how we would work it out. So we bartered, and yeah, so now it's mine, and I love it. And I think, his work is really blowing up. He's in New York now doing a lot of public artwork. Cool. So I'm like, I have one of his works of art.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Well, before we wrap up officially, I just want to remind everyone that Tricia's book is available for purchase through Loyalty Bookstores, which is a wonderful independent bookstore that serves the community here in the Maryland suburbs of DC, as well as in DC itself. We encourage you to go to their website, which is loyaltybookstores.com, if you would like to purchase a copy or gift a copy, whatever you'd like. The ebook is also available right now, so whoever acts quickly can go to the link that I've shared in the chat and borrow the ebook from the Prince George's County Memorial Library System, and you can enjoy the story with your family. So I encourage you to do both of those things. And then, because we are in crunch time for being an active citizen in this country, I have 2 PSAs that I have to share with you. The first is about the United States Census. Tricia, would you like to say anything about the census?
Fill it out. It's easy. It's quick.
Thank you. So the census, the completion deadline has been extended to October 5th, and who knows what's going to happen beyond that. So it's very simple to do. You can do it in your native language in up to about a dozen languages. You can just go to my2020census.gov. It takes 5 minutes. You do not need to prove citizenship or status of being a resident. The data that you submit is very, very safe. It is the safest it could possibly be with the U.S. government. It does not get touched by any of the appointees and things like that.
And it's important.
Yes. So if you, here in Prince George's County, if you neglect to fill out your census as a household, you're depriving the community of $18,250 per person in your household over 10 years. So just think about that. And we all complete the census. We're having a direct impact on bringing resources to our community, which has to do with public health response, which has to do with education, which has to do with books and libraries, which has to do with internet access. We have a very severe digital divide here in the county. And one of the big things that we're all working towards in the future is increasing consistent and affordable or free internet access. We have drive-up Wi-Fi at the library. We loan mobile hotspots, so you can totally access that all the time. But that's just one piece in the puzzle, and we've got to do a lot more work on that. The other thing is that it's very important to register to vote. And you have until October 13th to register to vote here in Maryland. If you have any questions about the process, you can go to our website, pgcmls.info, and on the homepage, there's a link to election information, which is all vetted by our expert librarians and library staff. So again, October 13th is the deadline to register to vote if you are a new voter in this county. The other thing to know is that voting by mail is encouraged because it is the safest way to vote right now, considering the pandemic. If you prefer to go in person, that's totally fine, and there are opportunities for you to do that. There are early vote centers that are opening at the end of October.
October 26th.
Yes, thank you. And then the general election, of course, on November 3rd is going to happen. And then there are, knocking on wood, there are 40 vote centers for election day throughout the county. Please note that the typical vote centers are not all necessarily open. So it's very, very important that if you plan to go vote in person, you check the locations before you go. And then also know that you can go to any of the voting centers in the county. You don't just have to go to the one that's assigned to you, that's nearest to you. And if you have any questions at all, please call the library. We would be happy to talk you through the resources, the process. You can reach our library staff today, Tuesday, from 1 to 8 p.m. at 240-455-5451. And also don't forget that we are doing curbside service. So if you are sick and tired of ebooks and audiobooks, you can go on our website, pgcmls.info, and place some holds on physical books, just like Tricia's book. And you'll have a chance to come pick them up as soon as they're ready for pickup at a number of branches throughout the county. So that's all I've got for you. Thank you again, Miss Tricia, for being a wonderful guest. We are so proud of you being a Prince Georgian. Tricia lives in the county and is one of the amazing, amazing creative talents in our community. We at the library are so thrilled with the opportunity to celebrate everyone who is an author in the county right now with the virtual platform, and we look forward to welcoming you all into the physical spaces as soon as it is safe to do that for everyone.
Thank you.
Okie doke. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Stay safe.
Bye, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.